Welcome to the 15th in our series of monthly webinars on key areas of NAV and Business Central. You can sign up for as many as you like on our website, and I'll show you the list of upcoming webinars at the end of the session. We'll also send out regular emails to register for the next one. So my name is Karen. I'll be facilitating the demo today, and I'm an account manager here at TVision. My background is 18 years of software account management experience working for ERP companies. Ian will be doing the demo today, and he is a support consultant here at TVision. He's been working here for about 2.5 years and has been using NAV since 2000. At TVision, clients often ask us how easy it would be to import data from other systems into NAV and what the best way of doing this would be. In order to answer this, you firstly need to ask yourself these key questions. What type of data do I have? Am I importing customers, transactions, or payments? Then you need to ask yourself, why are you importing it? Are you updating information, adding new information, or is it for reporting purposes? How much data will you be importing? Is it a few lines, tens, hundreds, or thousands? And how regular? Do you need to import this daily, weekly, monthly, quarterly, or is it just a one-off? How automated do you want the process to be? Do you want NAV to automatically import this information, or are you happy to do a manual import each time? Perhaps you need somebody to approve the import as well. So once you've answered these questions, then you'll have a much better idea about which importing method is most suitable. These options are copy and paste from Excel for a few a small amount of data where the data format is similar to NAV. TVision's GL Excel import for a larger amount of data. Perhaps this is where the format is similar, but some columns may be in a different order. Business Central's import from Excel or edit in Excel if you're on the latest version and you have a small amount of data. Rapid Start if you have a larger amount of data or you need to import regularly. And then integration to another system if you have a large amount of transactional data and or want to import daily. I'll now hand you over to Ian, who's going to be doing the demo.
Hi, thanks Karen. So for today's demo, I'm using NAV 2018, a standard Kronos database. That's where I'm going to start because it's what we're probably most familiar with, and then we'll look at some of the other options as we go through. Now, when you're looking at importing data into NAV, one of the first questions that Karen mentioned is what type of data are you importing? So if we just go and look at something like our vendor list, for example. When I bring this up on the screen, it looks a little bit like an Excel spreadsheet, but you'll notice that none of these fields are editable. And if you do try and change one of the fields, nothing happens. So immediately, although this looks a bit like Excel, this isn't somewhere where you can be using an import from Excel to change your data. If you do want to change one of these vendors, for example, you would highlight them, go to the edit screen, and when the edit screen comes up, it doesn't look like an Excel spreadsheet anymore. So again, Excel's not a good option for this kind of data. We're going to have to look at one of the other tools. If, on the other hand, you looked at something like a general journal or a payment journal, let's just have a look at the general journal. As soon as I'm in a general journal, again, it looks a bit like an Excel spreadsheet. I've got the tables and columns, and all of these fields are editable. Immediately, this says to me, this is something that's suitable for a kind of an Excel tool to import and export. And you can see also you've got your Microsoft Excel button up here. So it's kind of giving you a clue that Excel's a good choice here. So the first option that was mentioned was just importing data from Excel. So if I open up an Excel spreadsheet, which I've already prepared, give it a second to load. So I've got an Excel spreadsheet. On here, I've prepared a journal. This might be my accruals journal for the month. I've been filling it in as I go along. When it comes time that I want to import this information into my NAV or Business Central, I can simply highlight the relevant piece of data, copy, and then I can paste rows Stop. Yeah.
Thank you for joining our webinar. This is the 5th in the series of monthly webinars on key areas of NAV and Business Central. You can sign up for as many as you like on our website, and I'll show you a list of upcoming webinars at the end of the session. And we also send out regular emails to register for the next one. So my name is Karen. I'll be facilitating the demo today. I'm an account manager here at TVision, and my background is 18 years of software account management experience working for ERP companies. Ian's going to be doing the demo today, and he is a support consultant here at TVision. He's been working here for about 2.5 years and has been using NAV since 2000. At TVision, clients often ask us how easy it would be to import data from other systems into NAV or Business Central, and what the best way of doing this would be. In order to answer this, you firstly need to ask yourself these key questions. So what type of data do you have? Are you importing customers, transactions, or payments? Why are you importing it? Are you updating information, adding new information, or is it for reporting purposes? And how much data will you be importing? Is it a few lines, tens, hundreds, or thousands? And how regular? Do you need to just import this data daily, weekly, monthly, quarterly, or is it just a one-off? And how automated do you want the import process to be? Do you want NAV or Business Central to automatically import this information, or are you happy to do a manual import each time? Perhaps you need somebody to approve the import as well. Once you've answered these questions, then you'll have a much better idea about which importing method is most suitable. These options are copy and paste from Excel for a small amount of data where the data format is similar to NAV or Business Central. TVision's GL Excel import for a larger amount of data, perhaps where the format is similar, but some columns may be in a different order. Business Central's import from Excel or edit in Excel if you're on the latest version and you have a small amount of data. Rapid Start if you have a larger amount of data or if you need to import regularly. And finally, integration to another system if you have a large amount of transactional data and or you want to import daily. So I'll now hand over to Ian for the demo.
Thanks, Karen. For today's demo, I am going to be using a standard NAV 2018. We'll have a look at Business Central a little bit later on. Using this one because it's probably what everyone's most familiar with. Some of the questions that Karen was saying you need to ask is the type of data that you're importing. So if we just go and have a look at some data on our system, let's just have a look at our vendors. I've got a list of vendors here, and this looks a little bit like an Excel spreadsheet, but if I click around, none of these fields are editable. And even if I do try and change one of these fields, nothing happens. So immediately, for uploading new vendor information or changing vendors, using an Excel import isn't really going to be suitable. And if I do want to change one of these vendors, let's go and edit the vendor code. This again doesn't look like an Excel spreadsheet. So again, for vendor information, customer information and such like, import from Excel isn't the first place to start looking. We need different tools. On the other hand, if we go and look at something like a payment journal or a general journal, cash receipt journal, etc. Again, it looks like an Excel spreadsheet. I've got my columns and rows and all of these fields are editable. Immediately, this is saying to me, this is something I can use Excel as my source. I've also got this Microsoft Excel button up here, which is giving me another clue that Excel is a good place to get this kind of information from if I don't want to capture it by hand. Now, how would I do that? I can copy this and paste it into an Excel spreadsheet, populate my journal. Let's say that I did that and I've created a journal in Excel. I'm just going to open one up that I prepared earlier. As you can see, I've got a journal here that I've pre-prepared, and you will notice the column headings on my NAV match up with the column headings, the same order and everything on my Excel spreadsheet. To get this information in, it's as easy as highlighting the data I want to import, copying, and pasting. And pretty quickly, the system has imported what I copied from Excel. So that Excel spreadsheet could have been my monthly accruals or my monthly store payments, etc., I can use that Excel spreadsheet. I just want to delete all of these lines and show you something. What happens if I change my column layout? Let's add an area code and move that up. Now my column layout on Nav has changed and it doesn't match up with my Excel spreadsheet anymore. There's an extra column that's not here. So if I copy, and this time if I try and paste, I just start getting errors. And that's because now my columns have gone out of sync. So this solution of just simple copy and paste, it's perfect as long as your nav screen is going to remain the same. If I want to share this Excel spreadsheet with somebody else, their nav screen needs to be exactly the same as mine, which doesn't always happen in the real world. So let's just get rid of these errors. Refresh, discard all of that information, and delete this line. Now, in a situation like that where you want to share this spreadsheet, or perhaps you're going to prepare your Excel over the course of a few days and you might change the way your nav looks, then we have a custom built tool. This can be added to your system, import from Excel. And it works very nicely. If we click on it, it tells me what Excel worksheet do I want to import, and I go and choose one. The one I'm going to choose is called Import Demo. It's found data on sheet 1. It's found a row of headers. It's going to put this into my general journal, the one called Demo I'm working with. And I can choose a mapping code. You'd usually have a whole list of these set up for all your different types of journals. As soon as you say OK, it's gone and read my Excel spreadsheet and it's found the columns and it's tried to match them to the columns on here. These are the columns it found in my Excel spreadsheet, and that's the columns that it can map it up to in my journal. I can manually change these if I need to. If I'm happy, I say OK. Asks me if I want to save that for next time. Tells me that it didn't find any errors with the import. And it's going to bring that information in. And it brought that information in regardless of the fact that I've added a new column here. So I can change the layout of my columns again, pass that Excel file onto one of my colleagues. They can use this import button and it will still work. So far you've got a straight copy and paste from Excel if everything stays the same. If things are going to change, or if you're going to share your Excel documents with colleagues, then you've got the import from Excel button. Now, another option is the edit in Excel. This has become available on Business Central. So let's just have a look at that. And if I go and search for a general journal, for instance, and we have a look at that, I will find somewhere on this page there's an Edit in Excel button. If I click on this button, it's going to open an Excel spreadsheet for me. I'll be able to type within that Excel spreadsheet, and it's going to update this screen automatically without me having to say copy and paste. We've already looked at general journals, so let's have a look at something a little bit more interesting to demonstrate this tool. Let me get a list of customers. And you'll remember up front I said customers isn't always a good option to try and use Excel for your imports. Again, this isn't an editable screen, but because I have the Edit in Excel button here, just notice there's a very limited number of columns on my screen here. I'm going to say Edit in Excel. It's created an Excel workbook for me, which I'm going to open. And enable editing. Now you'll notice those columns that I had on my screen, it's added a whole host of extra columns as well. These are all the things on a customer that you could possibly edit. And this new little window has popped up on the side. and it says it's refreshing data. What it's doing, it's going and fetching information from my Business Central, and it's populated this workbook with that information. If I look on here, there are columns that I was not seeing on my Business Central screen. Something that happens quite often, perhaps this salesperson, BD, has left the company or he's moved on to a different department, and we want to change all of his customers and give them to Annette. Her initials are AH. And this guy as well. And maybe we want to change somebody's credit limit to 500,000, for instance. We make all the changes that we want. We can add new rows as well if we wish, if we've got new customers that we want to add. And when we've finished, we simply say publish information. And now what it's doing is it's pushing this information back into Nav or back into Business Central for me. And the publish was successful. It didn't find any errors. We can close that. I've still got my BD here, but if I go out of that screen and go back into it, customers, just to force a refresh of the information, you can see it's starting to change. It's not instantaneous. It's changed one. By the time we go and look in and drill in the information for this customer, we will see that the salesperson, not quite yet, it's busy updating. There we go, it's finished doing the update. And if we went and looked in that tray research where we changed the credit limit, we will see hopefully a credit limit of 500,000. Yep, it's updated the credit limit. So there I use the edit in Excel button to edit the information that was already there. As I said, I could have added extra rows if I wanted to. If I had deleted rows, don't worry, it won't delete your customers. It will just not make any changes for those customers. So that's another option that's available that's still very familiar and very easy to use. The next option that's available is for when you've got some more information to bring in. It's not just a simple journal that you're copy and pasting. Perhaps you're doing a real big bulk update of your items or your customers, etc. And for that, we have a tool, or Nav and Business Central have tools called Rapid Start. So if we go and have a look at our Rapid Start, you get a host of configuration packages, and you can set up separate packages. So you can have one for updating customers, vendors, items, banks, chart of accounts, anything that you need to update on a regular basis. Dimensions might be another one if you want to add new dimensions. You can go into any of these Rapid Start packages and see which tables they affect. And this one only affects table 18, my customers. And at the moment it's telling me I currently have 68 customers in my database, and there are 90 fields per each customer. I can, from here, hit the Excel button. I can export this information to Excel. It will create an Excel spreadsheet for me. I created one a little earlier, which I will open up. So this is a list that it exported of all the customers on this particular system. I can go and I can update those customer names, their addresses, etc. I can go and change who their salespeople are. So if I wanted to change all of these first ones to PS and AH just for fun, and we'll change a few more. Oopsie. As soon as I'm happy, and it will do validation. If you make a spelling mistake, your import's going to fail. As soon as I'm happy with all of this, I save the file with my changes. I can close it. And I can come back here and I can say import from Excel. Now I could have added extra lines there as well if I had wished. And there's the file that I saved. And it's going to do some validation on that information now to make sure that all of this information is valid. There's no spelling mistakes. I haven't used any codes that I shouldn't have used. I can always ask it to show me if it finds any errors. And this one's coming up blank, so it didn't find any errors. If I'm happy with these 68 lines that I want to change, the 68 that already exist, I can simply say apply the data. And again, it's going to do some more checking, make sure all the dimensions are valid, etc. And it's going to apply this information to my nav system. Usually takes a few seconds. Pops up a message to say that it's completed. There we go. Didn't find any errors, didn't insert any new records, but it did modify 68 records. And if I then go and have a look at my customer list, I will see those changes that I made and choose one of those first ones, which I changed, I think, to PS. And I can see the code has been changed to PS. And the second one, I think I changed to AH. And if we have a look at that one, it's changed to AH. So any changes that I made have been applied to my database. This has been done in bulk. And this is very nice for bringing thousands and thousands of rows. The final option that was mentioned was integrating with external systems. And there's a number of ways that you can integrate with external systems. You can use CSV files or XML files. You can use web services. So within Nav and Business Central, we have web services, and these publish web pages that other systems can use to communicate with Nav in either direction. So they can read from Nav or they can write to Nav, depending on how this has been set up. And we also have job queues that go with this. And within my job queues, I've got a sample one here where I can simply say that I want to run code unit number 2161, and this could be a code unit to import an Excel file, export a CSV file, import an XML file, whatever it might be. And I can set up a schedule for this, tell it which days of the week I want it to run, at what time do I want it to start running, do I want it to go from 1 o'clock in the morning or start working at 9 o'clock, what time must it finish, and how often must it run, once every 60 minutes, every 10 minutes. So you can have an external system that is providing information for Nav, and on this set schedule, run one of those code units, which is accessing a file or a web service to import data into your system. And you will also see here if there are any problems with this web service. So you're expecting it to bring in orders every 10 minutes from an external order processing system. If there's an error, it will be in red, and you will be able to go to the log and the error entries to see what's wrong. Why isn't it coming through? What's wrong with that import file? So those are the kind of 5 methods. So you've got your basic copy and paste from Excel. You've got the slightly more advanced GL Excel import, which doesn't worry about the field orders. You've got the built-in edit in Excel if you're using Business Central, where you don't need to copy and paste. You can just edit within Excel as if you were in Business Central. There's Rapid Store, which is really good for bringing in bulk master data changes, and integration with third-party systems. So that's what I needed to show you, unless there's any questions. Is there anything, Karen? Oh, what's the maximum number of records that can be imported? There really is no upper limit in reality to the number of records you can bring in. The biggest limit is your computer and how much memory it has. So if you're in Excel, You can bring through thousands of lines from an Excel spreadsheet quite comfortably. When you start getting to hundreds of thousands of lines, you'll probably find that your computer slows down, and that's what stops you bringing in more data. For rapid start and for external integration, there really is no upper limit. Again, you're limited by computer memory and how much bandwidth you have for transferring that information. So if you've got 200,000 lines you're trying to import into Business Central, you know, it might take a few hours for all that data to upload into the system. If you are trying to do that much information, it's either more memory or more bandwidth is needed to make that work. Another question, does the type of data affect which import method I can use? Yes. If you're bringing through simple text and numbers, you can bring that through from Excel. It's very good at handling fields of text and numbers. If you want to bring through, for instance, you're updating your customers and you're bringing through your company logos for those customers, that's pictures. Excel doesn't really hold pictures nicely. Then you really want to use an integration tool, a web service or something to bring that in. So the type of data does affect which type of tool you need to use. That's it for the questions. I will pass you back over to Karen.
Okay, thank you, Ian. So I'd like to leave you with the 5 key takeaways about importing data, which we hope will assist you. So first one is manual versus importing. Does the amount of import setup time justify the work needed compared to manually typing in the information? For example, if you just have a few new customers, it may be quicker and easier to just type the information in. How often do you actually need to refresh the data? Is it imperative that the information is imported? To be imported should be done when it's immediately available, or can it be scheduled at a quiet time or to coincide when other information needs to be imported? And who's going to check for the errors? Do you want the system to do this? If so, then the copy, paste or edit in Excel methods won't work. You'll need to consider the other methods. And remember, although you are setting up a quick way to import data, it's still worth checking beforehand, otherwise incorrect data won't be flagged. So special characters, they work in Excel, but they do not work in Neville Business Central. Remember to amend these before doing the import. And finally, and very importantly, who's going to maintain these import templates? Like all data management, somebody does need to own the responsibility of keeping these templates updated, especially if new data needs to be added. Okay, so we hope that you found this webinar interesting and informative. As mentioned previously, this is the 15th in the series of webinars, and we should be sending out emails soon to register for the next one. And we'll also put a reminder about the webinar in our newsletter as well. Okay, thank you for attending this webinar. If you want to download previous webinars, please go to the webinars and events section under resources on our website. And if you do have a question, feel free to email it to me, marketing@tvisiontech.co.uk. Thank you.